Welcome back, everyone. I know a few people are still making their way in, but we're going to go ahead and proceed. It's an amazing conversation you're about to hear on the challenges and solutions for the current housing crisis. So please welcome to the stage Desmond Meade and Jim Lockhart.
Good afternoon, all. The write-up suggested we're going to start out with the housing crisis. That's kind of old news, but I thought I'd at least start there because that's what it said. But we're really going to be talking about what's happening today and the issues today in housing, the frozen market that we have, the homeless situations, and other issues that I think are extremely important to Americans. But if you look at and give you a little introduction about my career, and then Desmond will do the same with himself. My career sort of in the world of government has been the American dream, whether it's security and peace, home ownership, and a secure retirement. I've gone from submarines to Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation, running that, Social Security, and then the regulator, Fannie and Freddie, and the Federal Home Loan Banks in the crisis. And in my book, I start out with a kind of a quote about the crisis. And the mortgage market was the epicenter of the global financial crisis. There's a quote there. And the quote says, "It became devastating. 8.8 million jobs were lost, 7 trillion in home equity lost, 11 trillion in stock equity was wiped out, and with 24 other countries had a banking crisis." So the good news is we solved a lot of those problems. We don't have the credit problems in the mortgages today that we had there. But we do have a lot of problems in the housing market today. We're still a frozen market. Affordability is at an all-time low, if you will, with high interest rates and high house prices. And almost 600,000 Americans are homeless. So there are a lot of issues there, and we want to get into those today. But one of the things about the American dream that some people don't talk about is the right to vote. And that's really a key part of the American dream. And part of Desmond's career has been in the world of voting as well as homelessness. So I'd like to turn it over to you, Desmond.
All right, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, no, we have to try that again. And you guys are on my time now. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Much better, much better. You know, James will talk about how his story is the American dream, right? And I like to think of my story as being the American spirit, right? And what I mean by that is that my story is a story of second chances. You know, in 2005, I was homeless, addicted to drugs, and recently released from prison, and I was standing in front of railroad tracks in South Florida waiting on the train to come so I can jump in front of him. Thankfully, that train didn't come that day, and I ended up crossing those tracks and checked myself into substance abuse treatment, and one thing led to another. I ended up getting my Juris Doctorate degree in 2014 and started an organization that led the effort to enfranchise over 1.4 million people living in Florida. Was named Time Magazine one of the 100 most influential people in the world, MacArthur Genius Fellow, and just this past February, our organization was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. And so as a person that has been in the depths of hell, to be able to even be in front of you today, I think that is the spirit of this country, a spirit of second chances and what happens when we afford people opportunities to live their dream, to be able to prosper. As it relates to the housing crisis, you know, one of the things people like me, we're 10 times as likely to be homeless as anyone else. Right, and we face so many different challenges. We were talking earlier, about how, you know, it's not just about the market being so far out of reach that, you know, not many people can afford to purchase a home. We also have the back end of it to deal with or to contend with. And I'm definitely looking forward to talking about it more. But James, I'm going to turn it over to you, and then we can get into the numbers later.
Okay, well, yeah, from the housing market standpoint, we have a problem at the moment. There's sort of a haves and have-nots. The people that have a house have done very well in the last 15 years. Their home equity has tripled. The people that don't have a house, and that's about 35% of the Americans that are not homeowners, have not done anywhere near as well. And a subsection of that is the homeless world. And it's actually pretty concentrated. I looked up statistics, I forgot to tell you. 4 states make up 50% of the homelessness in the U.S. Guess what state's number 3?
Florida?
Florida.
He's been holding out on me, y'all.
So, yeah, number 1 is obviously California,
Yes.
and then New York, and then Florida. And it's only about 5% of the homeless, so it's 30% is in California. But that's one issue that I think is worth talking about is how we can create more affordable housing so that that will help homeless, but also help a lot of the other 35% that don't have a house. And you want to talk a little bit about the world of homelessness, but also housing in Florida.
Of course. So speaking of Florida, you know, and I always say the front end, you guys heard me say the front and the back end. And so for people who've been justice impacted, right, we have so many what we call collateral consequences that we have to face as a result of a felony conviction. And so it's not just being able to get a house, but it's also being able to get a job. Right? And so when we look at the almost 7 million people in the state of Florida, right, and we look at their inability to maximize their earning potentials, what studies have shown is in Florida, the people that have been justice impacted lose out, you ready for this, on over $57 billion each year of lost earning potential. Right? So even if we were, you know, able to say have a market that makes it easier for someone to get a home, because our earning potentials are limited, we face that challenge, right? Now, say for instance we were able to make the money. Say that we have good thriving jobs, making a ton of money, have a solid bank account. We face discrimination on the back end. What? I'll use me as an example. With everything that I told you I've been able to accomplish, I still have a difficult time even trying to own or even rent a home, because mortgage companies, insurance companies, they would refuse to let me purchase a home because of something I did 20, 25 years ago, right? And those are the challenges that we have to face every single day. Now, what does that mean to you? You might not be a person that is in my situation, but I could tell you how it impacts everyone. In Florida, the National Realtors Association estimate that in Florida, anytime a person purchases a home, right, that's equivalent of $122,000 being pumped into the local economy. If just 1/3 of people like me were able to buy homes in the state of Florida, that would generate over $256 billion. That's $250 billion that we are preventing from even pouring into the economy because we're not able to purchase a home, and we have these challenges as it relates to occupational licenses and getting jobs.
Yeah, no, I mean, part of the issue, obviously, at this point in the U.S. is we're missing about 4 to 6 million houses, depending on who you believe. And as a result, there's a real trickle-down effect. The lower income houses have become higher income houses as the house prices have been pushed up. And obviously with people in a house now with a 3% mortgage don't want to move to a house with an 8% mortgage, so we have a totally frozen market. And that's a problem. And we need to figure out how to build more affordability into the U.S. housing system. We have a housing system unlike any other country in the Western world that's totally dominated by the government. Over 70% of the mortgages in this country now are guaranteed by the U.S. government, and yet the Fed owns over $2 trillion of mortgage-backed securities. And yet we can't seem to get it fixed, and that's a problem. And there's a lot of reasons for it, and we've talked back and forth about some of those reasons, and you can add to them. But I think what we need is a lot of the issues, local zoning. No on NIMBY, no, not my backyard. So you can't have smaller lots. You can't have smaller houses. You can't have accessory dwelling units. And we need to start thinking about those kinds of issues if we're really going to fix this system. If we can get more affordable housing, that will mean that we'll also have more housing for the homeless. And we need to start this working, and we have not for a variety of reasons. 15 years after the crisis, we still haven't fixed the housing system in this country. And it's something that needs to be done. I mean, there's other issues. You were mentioning one issue is education.
Yeah, I was just about to say investing in education. Because it's one thing to provide a home for someone, but do they have the necessary skill set? Do they have the necessary understanding, right? And the habits to actually be able to maintain a mortgage, right? And it is so, I would say, cruel to put someone in a home without the necessary skill sets just to see them getting foreclosed on a year or two later, and then they're right back to being homeless. One of the things that you don't want to do is engage in practices that steals a person's hope. Because once hope is lost, then, I mean, that's what happened to me when I was in front of those railroad tracks. I lost all hope, and I was ready to end it all, and that's the worst position I would want anyone to be in. And so we have to invest in making sure that people are prepared to walk into a home for the first time or even the second time.
Yeah, I mean, financial literacy is a very important issue, and I think they need to have counseling with a new first-time home buyers, and we're doing more of that, and that's important. And there's a whole series of things to be done. There's no magic bullet here, but we need to start working on it. We need to, one of the issues is we may be subsidizing the wrong people, the middle class, instead of the people that really need housing in this country. And that's the problem. When too much of our government programs are really supporting, Fannie and Freddie and FHA can make mortgages on houses over $1 million. And shouldn't we sort of slant it down so much smaller?
No, I totally agree with you, James. I mean, one of the things that I always share with people is that, I mean, you all have heard the adage before, right? A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Anyone ever heard that before? All right, and here's the thing. Here's the phenomenon about that. You have 4 links in that chain, and 3 of those links could withstand or could hold a ton. But one of those links could only hold 100 pounds. How much weight could that chain bear? 100 pounds. Even if you strengthen the other 3 links so they could hold 2 tons or even 4 tons, how much weight can that chain hold? It will still be able to hold 100 pounds. And so just like a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, so is our society, so is our economy. If we really want to have a thriving country, a thriving community, a thriving state, then we have to invest in strengthening those of us who's been most weakened by various systems. And it's when we strengthen them, then we as a community, we as a country, can reach new heights.
Exactly. No, and I think part of the issue to me is that we are really looking at the wrong problem from time to time. Certainly, the education is a key issue that to strengthen that link. We need to get the education in there, but we also need to not lower the underwriting standards, which we did in the crisis. And we really destroyed a lot of people's lives with all those foreclosures. And so what we need to do is work on ways to get people into houses, and it may take a while. Education is part of it. Another promising program is something called buy to rent. Rent to buy, excuse me, I got it backwards. and basically the idea is someone is renting and they build up equity and they can eventually own the house. And we need more innovative programs, and the government should be supporting those kinds of programs rather than just throwing money at the problem. Down payment assistance is another helpful idea, but again, it has to come with the education.
And of course, removing these automated barriers, You know, I mean, because whatever algorithms that mortgage company or insurance company used, they didn't see Desmond applying for their house. They just saw some type of formula. They saw an arrest record or a conviction record. They didn't see the person that you all are seeing today. And I'm pretty sure, you know, I'm going to be bold. If any one of you all owned a home, I'm pretty sure you would have no problems renting to me. Am I correct? Right? Oh, wait a minute. Does anybody really have a problem renting me a home? Question. And so I think that is, you know, when we rely too much on these systems, right, that automatically disqualify people without you even getting to know who they are and where they came from, what their story is, right? We eliminate a portion of our society from being able to experience the ability to engage in economic mobility, which only benefits us. It doesn't just benefit them. Whatever blessings I get or whatever advantages I get or opportunities to thrive in my community, we all benefit from it.
I agree, and we've hit our time limit, so I want to thank you, Desmond, and I want to thank you all for listening. I hope we didn't bring you down too much, but I think there's a real opportunity for America here to really get upward mobility and really move forward if we really look at the housing issues. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.